caught my husband cheating with my own twin sister on the night he was supposed to make me his wife. And the worst part? He thought it was me. Welcome to Raw Reddit Tales. Subscribe to keep getting the spiciest stories. It's strange how the most beautiful day of your life can turn into the most haunting night of your existence. That morning, everything felt perfect. The white dress hanging by the window, the soft buzz of excitement from my bridesmaids, the man of my dreams waiting at the altar. I remember my hands shaking when I said, I do. Not out of fear, but out of joy. I thought love had finally found me. But I didn't know that while I was vowing forever, betrayal was already waiting behind the curtains of my own family. My twin, Layla, looked stunning that day too. She always did. Growing up, people said we were identical, but I never realized just how dangerous that could become. The reception was loud, chaotic, full of laughter and champagne. I barely noticed when my new husband, Ethan, disappeared for a few minutes. Everyone said he was greeting guests, but when minutes turned into hours, something inside me whispered that something was wrong. I excused myself, still smiling for pictures, and went upstairs to our bridal suite. The hallway was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your stomach twist. The door was slightly open, and I heard faint giggles. My heart dropped. I pushed the door gently, expecting maybe a surprise. Balloons, roses, something romantic. Instead, what I saw froze me. Ethan, on the bed, with someone who looked exactly like me. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. My mind couldn't separate what I was seeing. It felt like an out-of-body experience. He was kissing her neck, whispering my name, and she didn't stop him. She didn't say a word. My body shook so hard that I dropped the bouquet I was still holding. The sound made them both turn. Ethan's face went pale. Layla gasped, pulling the sheet to cover herself like it would hide the sin. The air in the room turned heavy, and I swear, for the first time, I understood what betrayal truly smells like. I remember standing there, my wedding dress still glowing under the soft light, yet everything inside me felt dark. My vision blurred, my throat tightened, and for a moment I couldn't even find my voice. Ethan stuttered, trying to say my name, but I raised a hand, shaking. Don't. I managed to whisper. Just don't. Layla clutched the sheet tighter, eyes wide like a scared child, but I knew that look. It wasn't guilt. It was fear of getting caught. I backed away slowly, my heels clicking against the marble floor, each step echoing louder than their excuses. My wedding ring suddenly felt like a shackle burning my skin. I ran to the bathroom down the hall and locked myself in. My reflection stared back at me. Red eyes, smeared lipstick, and a dress now stained with heartbreak. I slid down the wall, clutching the fabric to my chest, and screamed into it until my throat burned. Every memory of Layla flashed through my mind. Her laughter, our shared childhood secrets, the times she said she envied how everyone loved me first. I'd always brushed it off as sibling rivalry. I never thought she'd actually want to be me. Ethan knocked on the door minutes later. His voice was trembling, panicked. It's not what you think, he said. I almost laughed. That sentence, those exact words felt like a cruel joke. You thought it was me? I yelled back. Silence. He didn't answer. That was confirmation enough. When I finally opened the door, Layla was gone. Only Ethan remained, sitting on the edge of the bed with his head in his hands. He looked broken, but I couldn't feel pity. I asked him to explain, and what came out of his mouth made me sick. He claimed Layla came to the room first, pretending to be me. He said he didn't realize until halfway through, until he saw the small scar on her shoulder, the one I didn't have. I wanted to believe he was lying, that this was just some twisted attempt to save himself. But the way his voice cracked, the desperation in his eyes, it almost felt like truth. Almost. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the sunrise over the city, wondering how love could turn into something this ugly so fast. By morning, I felt numb, like someone had pressed pause on my emotions. The hotel staff knocked gently to deliver breakfast, unaware that the newlyweds inside that suite were living a nightmare. Ethan sat across from me, silent, his wedding band glinting under the dull light. I wanted to tear it off his finger to scream, but I couldn't find the energy. Instead, I stared at him, waiting for more truth to spill out. Did you touch her before the wedding? I finally asked. His silence was louder than any confession. That's when I knew it wasn't a one-time mistake. It had started long before our vows. When I left the room, Layla was in the hallway. Dressed in one of my bridesmaids' robes, her hair still messy from the night before. She looked at me with those familiar green eyes. My eyes. But there was no shame in them, just pity. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, she said quietly. He thought I was you. I laughed bitterly. Then why didn't you stop him? Her lips trembled. Because I wanted to know what it felt like to be loved by someone who actually chose you. Her words cut through me like glass. That's when everything started to make sense. The jealous comments, the subtle competition, the way she'd always linger too long around Ethan during family dinners. I used to think she was just protective, but no. She wanted him. She wanted my life. When my parents found out, chaos erupted. My mother slapped Layla across the face so hard it echoed through the house. My father refused to look at either of them. I stood in the corner, trembling, because even though everyone was angry, I felt like the joke was on me. The bride who got cheated on her own wedding night. The twin who couldn't tell her sister was plotting behind her back. Ethan tried to apologize again, begged for forgiveness, but every word sounded rehearsed. I didn't know what hurt more. The betrayal or the realization that maybe deep down, part of him had always been drawn to her because she looked like me. The line between love and disgust blurred that day, and I started to question everything I'd ever known about loyalty and family. Days passed, but it felt like I was trapped in a loop, replaying that night over and over until it lost all meaning. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't even cry anymore. The media from the wedding still flooded my phone. Smiling photos, slow dances, captions like a love story to remember. If only they knew. I deleted them all one by one until my gallery was empty. That was how I felt inside, emptied out. Ethan called constantly, leaving long, tearful messages. He claimed he was drunk, confused, manipulated. But his excuses didn't change the image burned into my head. His hands on my sister's body. My own reflection, betrayed twice. Layla tried to reach out too. First through texts, then through a letter she slipped under my door. I remember reading it at 3 a.m., my chest tightening with every word. She wrote that she didn't plan it, that she only went to the room to see how it felt to be me for a moment. She said she thought Ethan knew, that it was just a sick, impulsive mistake that got out of control. But at the end of the letter, one line stood out. You've always had everything, and I just wanted to feel chosen for once. That was when I realized she didn't feel sorry. She felt justified. My mother begged me to forgive her, to keep the family from falling apart. But how do you forgive the person who ripped your heart out and smiled while doing it? Ethan showed up at my parents' house one evening looking like a ghost. He got down on his knees in front of me and said he'd do anything. Therapy, counseling, public apology, anything to fix us. For a moment, I wanted to believe him. But when I looked into his eyes, I didn't see regret. I saw fear. Fear of losing the comfortable life he'd built around me. I moved out the next morning. No goodbye. No explanations. Just silence. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of Layla watching from the porch, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, I didn't see my sister. I saw a stranger wearing my skin. And I knew, deep down, this story wasn't over yet. 3 months later, I was still living out of boxes in a tiny apartment across town. The wedding gifts were shoved into a closet I never opened, and the dress hung in a plastic bag like a ghost of who I used to be. I started therapy, mostly because I didn't trust myself not to collapse again. Every night, I replayed Ethan's voice in my head, the way he said my name while touching her. My therapist said I was experiencing trauma loops, that I needed to break them. But how do you stop remembering when the pain lives under your skin? One morning, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, no one spoke, just breathing. I hung up, thinking it was a prank. Then I got another one the next day, and another, until one night I finally spoke first. Layla, if that's you, stop. Silence. Then a soft, broken whisper. He won't leave me alone. My blood ran cold. She admitted Ethan had been showing up at her place, drunk, begging her to talk. Apparently, he'd told her he couldn't stop thinking about that night. That he was confused. I wanted to vomit. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let them both drown in the mess they made, but curiosity burned through me. I needed to know if she was telling the truth or manipulating me again. So I agreed to meet her. We chose a quiet cafe downtown, the same one we used to visit in college. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Her once glowing skin looked pale, her eyes hollow. She reached across the table, voice trembling. He's not who you think he is, she said. That night, it wasn't all me. My heart stopped. She told me Ethan had planned it, that he'd been flirting with her for months, testing boundaries, sending texts he'd later delete. She said he invited her to the room that night, told her I'd be late, told her he wanted to see something. I didn't believe it. Not at first. But when she showed me her phone, there it was. Messages from Ethan, explicit and undeniable. My chest tightened as I scrolled, every word stabbing deeper. The man I thought I married wasn't confused. He was calculated. I left the cafe shaking, the world spinning around me. Everything I had buried came crashing back in waves. Those messages were proof. Ethan hadn't been drunk or manipulated. He knew exactly what he was doing that night. He'd used both of us. I went home and sat on the floor for hours, staring at my phone. My hands trembled as I typed his number, but I didn't call. I wanted him to feel what I felt, powerless. So I planned something different. I gathered every text, every photo, every screenshot Layla gave me, and I sent them to his family, his job, and every one of our wedding guests. No words, no explanations, just evidence. It didn't take long. Within hours, my phone buzzed nonstop. His mother crying, his friends shocked, his boss demanding answers. Ethan called me 20 times that day. The 21st time, I answered. His voice was frantic. Why would you do that to me? He screamed. Because you did it to me first. Before I said calmly, my voice steady for the first time in months. He begged, threatened, cried. I listened in silence, then hung up. That click was the sound of my freedom. 2 weeks later, Layla moved to another state. She texted once before she left. I'm sorry, not for what happened, but for how I let it destroy us. I never replied. Some wounds don't need words, they just need distance. My parents stopped mentioning her name, and the house felt quieter, heavier. But in that silence, I found peace. Ethan tried reaching out again months later through mutual friends, claiming he was a changed man. I didn't even open the message. Change doesn't erase betrayal, it only exposes who someone really was all along. I sold my wedding dress, donated the gifts, and changed my last name back. My therapist said healing isn't about forgetting, it's about learning to remember without bleeding. She was right. Now when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl who was betrayed. I see the woman who survived. My scars don't define me, they remind me. And though my twin carries my face, she'll never again carry my trust. The end. Please like and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. What do you think of this story? Please comment below.